Recording in progress. I don't know whether we are questioning everything or I can't remember the name of your podcast. It was
Shout out. So yeah, thank you. Questioning everything and trying to find some missing perspectives. Yes, sir.
Questioning everything to find the missing.
Yeah. It's been a minute, man. We were talking a little bit before we recorded about the idea that that feedback loop, and when you're hearing the compliments about some of those, like, it's hard sometimes to take that in, and then on the flip side, what you said earlier about like some of those seeds that you planted starting to grow almost around the time when you feel like you're going to give up. Is like this past year, I had to stop doing it. I just had to stop doing everything. I was kidding myself, and by the end of this last year, it was like, oh my, I am drained. But the place that I worked at last, it was kind of felt that same way. It's like all these seeds, where we met at, planting all these seeds, and then it's like, oh man, like, and now where I'm at now, just kind of. In retrospect, if you look at it as an outsider, you're like, oh, that just came out of nowhere for Corey. No, it didn't. I mean, it came through a relationship that I created through another relationship. So they were seeds that were being planted, and then one of them sprouted. It's like, I'm ready for the harvest.
Yeah. It happens so slow in our lives. But from the outside, it's just one day, I'm working at this place, or I've got this amazing thing to happen in my life. And it looks like overnight success. It looks like you're lucky.
Yeah.
They have no idea how much farming goes on in the background.
No, you know what? Even to, like, if I talk about my kids, right? So like, as I'm raising my children and teaching them certain habits, responsibilities, don't leave the mess for dad to clean up, y'all. I'm just one dude, doing all that. Anyone who's close to the family and at least has known the kids for at least a few years, they can easily look at like, oh, Corey's really relaxed with the kids. He could be doing more. But what they don't see is the grinding, and like implementing a family agile process. You know what I'm saying? So they can start thinking, critically about these things. But it's so, and then now some of them have gotten it, and it's easy for, I'm saying as an outsider, it's easy for some people to look at certain things. They might give you some advice, or how it is. Sometimes you bump into your homie and they tell you something you needed to hear.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people think that one thing that you needed to hear, when you acknowledge that, like, man, I really need to hear that. Well, sometimes they're like, oh, that's what they needed to hear to get their life jump started. But what they still don't know is, yes, I needed to hear that. It was along the path. I definitely needed that jump, but I still been out here sowing seeds. I still been grinding. You know what I mean? I'm not dead.
Right.
And all interactions, everything that happened before that, gift, whatever the outcome was, they were all important and they all mattered. Yeah, man. So anyway.
Yeah. It's all a small piece of a larger tapestry. So right, it's like being woven, it's being put together, and it never makes sense when you're watching it in the process. It's like when I'm recording music and I got someone in the studio with me. And we get the vocals down and they're like, all right, let me hear it back. And I'm over here trying to, add layers, add effects, smooth it out, put it in the right place, cut out the pieces and level it. You have to keep playing it over and over again. They're like, I don't like that. Don't do that. Why are we playing it over? Can you just I can imagine how God feels when we're over here praying and he's like, can you just chill? I'm still working it out. I just gotta edit.
I gotta put some layers on here. You don't understand. No,
gotta put the pieces in place.
That's for real, bro. That's for real. I was sitting in here because my son share the garage, so we've kind of retro. You've been here. We redesigned since the last time you were here. So now I've got so now there's 3 desks in the garage, and a lot of the clutter is is gone out of here. So we got a bean bag, and Zane's got his desk right here. My other daughter Zuri's got her desk right here. But like, man, I was last couple of nights I've been staying up to like 2 a.m. Just caught in the vibes of making some beats, bro. But you know what's interesting is like I'll have it on my big speaker, and it'll be like you'll hear the same loop, like and the metronome. Are you still working on that? Yeah, bro, you don't understand, man. That kick was just right, but I need to add something else on here. You know what I'm saying? Like I just got to go back through it, man. What a way to look at life too, right? Like I know I've been down this path before. It's not that I'm going like it's not like I'm Moses and the people of Israel going back through the mountain or around the mountain, you know, and lost in the wilderness. No, that's not it. I'm perfecting the art that's getting ready to go out. I'm perfecting what's happening, you know? So yeah, I got to put some more layers in there. Oh, I got to go re-record a certain part. Like that's life in general.
Yeah. I got to put a special effect on this one because sometimes things need to be distorted. Sometimes you need to have an overdrive. Sometimes you need a phase and a flange.
Yeah. Sometimes you need homies in the studio with you. And somebody says an idea that you wasn't even thinking of, and it just changed the whole direction of the song.
So when I was younger, coming up making music, I always thought it was a bad thing to have to attribute, you know, that I've used so and so's beat or so and so's sample, and
so why do you think that is? Huh? Why do you think that is? Because I mean the same thing with me.
We feel like we have to do it alone. We feel like asking for help is weakness. And in reality, I think that if you want to go fast, you can go alone.
Right.
If you want to go far, you have to go together. And what you just said made me think of like when you're looking at the lyrics of a song on Apple Music, or you're looking at the credits of a song, and at the very end, it shows you written by. And there's a long list of people. And I'm like, I write my songs alone. How do you have all these? No, reality is, if I'm writing a song and it takes me 3 months to write that song, everyone I've talked with in that process that has put in some kind of input on that song or said something that made me think of something differently is now a writer on that song.
Yes.
It's a group effort. It's collective.
Yes.
And like I was just listening, you know, my coach, James. So he was just telling us about how
shout out to James, by the way.
Yeah, James.
We see you, big homie.
That's Coach Ever.
Hey.
We were talking about how helping others, like you become the authority by helping other people get where they need to be. And so like when you see people like Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins and all these Brendan Burchard, all these big time people we look up to that we're inspired by every day, they're just regurgitating each other's stuff or other philosophers or principles that have already been there. Like there's no new ideas under the sun. Everything is a new combination of what already was. And so I don't know why at some point we thought we had to be all original. We couldn't attribute where we got something from. And when you're sharing, other people's stuff, and you're helping to uplift and boost and help other people, you're also helping your audience with those people's things, but you're giving them more of an audience. And at some point that's got to, like, that's those seeds we sow, right? At some point that's got to come to fruition. At some point somebody's got to recognize that you are helping more people than you're helping yourself. And it has to, it's like this analogy. You want to sit down in front of the fireplace and be like, give me heat. But what has to happen before that heat comes? You got to go find some wood. You got to chop it down. You got to get it ready to go in the fireplace. Then you have to find a way to spark it. And you got to fan the flame. All that stuff has to happen. And then you still have to wait for it to heat up. But we're in a society where it's all instant gratification, right? We want things instantly. We want to grab the remote and turn on the TV. We want to hit the volume and turn it up. We don't realize that now, even now, with all these luxuries in the spiritual realm, you still have to get up and change the channel on the TV. Well, listen, we talked about music because we're both music heads, but
in work, the same things happen. So like you imagine, right? And this is I'm okay with letting my hair down a little bit on this too.
All right.
When I came into Vimeo, which I'm proud to say that I work for Vimeo, I'm gonna say that on this podcast. When I came in, bro, because of the way that I came in, because of the sheer amount that they're paying me, I came in maybe with a little bit more bigger head than I should have, right? Just a little bit, because if I'm honest about all of this, the way it happened, and I was at the point of giving up, because on top of all of this stuff with work, and things becoming unmanageable, it became unmanageable not because of my actual job, but because of my personal life and going through a divorce and then being the single father and really trying to figure all of this stuff out, right? But I'm like, oh, I got this. What? Vimeo's much smaller than the last place I was at. I got this in the bag, bro. And it, because I came in so short-sighted with that, I missed a lot of opportunity. But one of the biggest things that I noticed towards the end of the year was like a lot of the things in the beginning, because I was just a little like, it wasn't my zone yet. I didn't feel comfortable yet. I wanted everybody to kind of take me seriously. Some of the tools that I have are a lot of just the different experiences that whether it was at the last company or through some kind of, when I went through my certification. And I don't know what it is about the first thing I want to do is not admit to the fact that I didn't write that sentence. You know what I mean? And if we're not talking about like legality, like plagiarism, stuff like that. I'm just saying it's the same vein as like with the music, like not wanting to admit that you use X, Y, and Z sample. And it's not because you want to hide who did it and you don't want to give that artist credit. I think it's more so on the fact of like maybe confidence coming into a certain thing. Like I want people to think that I'm dope. You know what I mean? Like, and the simple fact that we could take loops that exist, put them together and make a beat, you know what I mean, is in and of itself, I mean, that is great. Some people could get all the same tools and not come out with the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I've seen that translate in work. I've seen that translate when I'm cooking for the kids. I might have like some recipe cards, and I'm not telling them that I got a recipe card, but I'm like, look at this chicken I just threw together, And I have no idea where that came from, the wanting to do that. I have no idea.
I think as you're talking, so that's one of my gifts is as people are talking, I'm able to see a vision. And as you're talking about, I don't know why, my brain is thinking why. Ego. And if you think back to the very first time this happened, very first time this happened, someone was just supposed to be the worship leader.
You're right.
People were praising.
You right.
And he don't want to let them know that he's just the vessel to go through. And it's done. It's over.
Yeah.
And it's always right before the fall is that pride, right?
Yeah.
I want people to know that I want to feel better than I feel like I am, even though I am greater than I am, and that I think I am.
I mean, what a paradox. Keep going.
Right? And so I don't want to attribute the fact that some people have put into or contributed to my greatness, right? But I wouldn't be who I am without all of those contributions, without those trainings, without those, even the mistakes, even the failures, especially the failures, especially the people that said you couldn't. For me, I don't know about you, but I'm that rebellious type where I can't thrive in supportive, loving environments because I don't know what to do with that. But if you tell me I can't do something,
I'm gonna prove you wrong.
I can't.
That's
what?
Yeah, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I mean, let's just be clear to anyone who catches this, whether we release this or not. we are always going to prove you wrong. 100%. Somebody said to me, right? At the last place me and you met at.
Yeah.
The job that I had gotten was like, it was a brand new job. They really needed someone who was really focused, that could do this. And then they get Corey, who's the least focused person in the room. But you already know when I'm in the room, you know I'm there.
Yeah.
And one of the leaders on their last day before leaving said to me, Corey, when they announced that it was you coming onto the team, I was like, oh God, he's going to fall flat on his face. He's not going to be good at this job. I wish we would pick from, and she like straight up telling me this to my face. I wish she had told her boss, I wish we had picked from just the stronger breed, if that's the best word to use. I don't know what else to use. But stronger candidates that were around at the company. But then we got you. She's like, and you, sir, have completely blown my mind. Over the last 2 years, you did exactly opposite of what I thought was going to happen and even took it further. So just, like because coming in, I felt like I was against it. You know what I mean? I didn't have that supporting. So I had to go and prove everybody wrong. Is that the same with the ego?
So that is exactly what that is. Because I had a similar experience when I was at, let's just be real, the place we met at.
Yeah.
I was barista.
Yeah.
And I left to be promoted as GM, and they were so mad about that.
Yeah.
They needed me back. They wanted me back. And I get that. I just didn't understand it because that had never happened to me before. I had never been in this environment around corporate people. I had no idea what y'all did in there, but neither did the people that were training me. And my question was, what are these people doing here? And Peter at the time was like, I don't know. I'm like, how long have you worked here? He's like, since February. We're in September. No, he said since October, and we're in February. And I'm like, you've been here almost 6 months, and you don't know what these people. You come here every day. You don't know. What
you don't know what these people do.
What's wrong with? Are you okay? But when I got hired on, and they put me in that place as account manager, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to sit at a desk. I'm the least focused person in the room.
Right? But when Greg walks in the door.
Yes, you can feel it when I'm in the room.
Yeah.
And I actually, someone told me that yesterday. Just something about your presence exudes love and acceptance. People feel accepted and loved around you. And I'm like, I guess that's because I really do accept and love everyone, because I had to learn to do that for myself.
For myself. Oh, bro.
I was so harsh on myself. And I know if I'm like this for myself, and that's the human condition, just imagine what other people are dealing with themselves. Right? But I got taken into a room on my first day and told by two ladies that I worked with that they were pissed that when they found out it was me that was coming on, and they thought they passed up people with 10 years experience in this field for the barista.
Yeah.
And just, it felt like, I don't even know how to describe that feeling. Just like, wow, do I go to HR about that? Like, what do I do? Is this okay? Are they allowed to talk to me like this here? But you come from the restaurant industry where everything goes. It's a walking HR nightmare at all times. And if restaurants had HR, they would not have any employees. But come into this place where you find out, you learn about HR and sexual harassment and things you can and can't say, political correctness, and you get that speech.
I
think, man, I'm starting this position with a target on my back.
So it's interesting, right? The interesting part to me about all of this, when you factor in ego, I'm going to pause on that too for just a second, because we have been all over the place, but it's all right, y'all. We haven't seen each other in months. But is ego inherently an issue, or is it only an issue when it becomes an issue? Because I feel like it's one of them things that exists that we need, but we can become distracted by and over influenced by if we're not aware. And I don't know that to be true. I actually haven't really delved much into the ego side of things. But I think too, the words, when people are non-supportive, so because I can thrive in a very supportive environment too, right? When I know people got my back, they're gonna let me be who I am. You know what I mean? I show up to a meeting with snowflakes falling in the background, and then nobody's like turning an eye at me. And then there's someone that's really supportive, and it's just not helpful. And then the same is with those that like come against, because sometimes it depends on who it comes from. It could be really, really defeating, and I'm in a shell. I'll disappear. Which is kind of sums up 2021 for me, is like having to go into a shell, and then as well as all of the other priorities and responsibilities I had. But I tell you, I wanted to launch my coaching business this year. I wanted to in 2021, I wanted to do so much. But it was a little bit of the pressures of life, and then as well as like the things that are spoken and who they may have came from, right? Whether they knew it or not when they said it. I think sometimes that matters too. Like, oh God, like Joe down the street tell me no, or that I couldn't do it, I'm prove him wrong. But then if I'm talking to someone really close and and they're not as like supportive, it's like, oh damn, am I doing the right thing? Like shit, yeah. So
yeah. So is ego a problem or inherently bad, or is it only a problem when it becomes a problem? Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
I think ego is not all bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes like if we did not have an ego, we wouldn't be self-preserving. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It is necessary to keep us alive, but it's not, our ego is not the axis of the planet, right? I think that's where the problem happens, is when the ego shifts from being a part of the greater whole to becoming and thinking that it is
only on self. Yeah.
Because our problem as humans, the human condition, is that we are selfish and self-centered, right? All of us have that capacity to be selfish and self-centered. And when that becomes the issue, we're taking the focus off of that God consciousness, for the lack of better wording. And if a God offends anyone,
when you say God consciousness, right, you mean like that expanded objective worldview, the thing that's like looking at everything and just kind of like, not personalizing it, just
it is
that outside. Yeah.
That collective force that runs through everything and everyone.
Yeah.
You could call energy, you could call it the universe, you could call it, for lack of better wording, if God offends anyone, good orderly direction as an acronym, still God, still God. Love, right?
Yep.
We need each other. We need everything that happens, good and bad, that yin and that yang, or yin and yang for those.
Hey, I like how you put the little the little accent on there, so we knew.
I mean, you go to yoga and they're like yang.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I feel young inside.
Yeah, look, yeah.
But it's that what we strive for. You said something earlier, and it made me think it's not all this or all this. In the end, we're always striving for balance, right? Because I see life as a bunch of pendulums, right? Swinging. And you're trying to walk and navigate through these pendulums to get to the end place. You don't know where you're at. It's dark.
Right.
You feel these things swinging. You know that something's off. One pendulum is swinging from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And you're trying to balance it out. And while you're over here working on this one, you notice that the pendulum's all the way over here. So let's say alcohol, right?
Right.
Well, I won't use that because that's a different
stuff. No, but you could use it as long as people knew why you were pulling that up.
Okay, so here we go. I don't drink because it makes me break out in handcuffs. But there are people, and I'm pretty sure I could be one of these people. I just let me lay the foundation real quick.
Yeah.
So all these pendulums are swinging.
Yeah.
And you go from one extreme to the other. So I'll use alcohol as one, but I have another one that's better. So I'm either drinking all the time, right?
Yep.
Until it's destroying my life, or I'm not drinking at all and I'm against everyone that drinks.
Right.
When that pendulum falls somewhere in the middle, I can allow people who drink to do and be who they are.
Yeah.
And I don't have to partake at all. if I do, I can do it in moderation.
Yeah.
It's not a need. I'm not drinking it to drown out anything, to
And
escape
cope.
anything.
Right.
I'm not using it as a crutch for anything.
Yeah.
That's where that pendulum falls, and that's what we all strive for. But when you get one pendulum to stop swinging and you find that balance, you find one off in the distance that's swinging, right? So now my ego, I'm either all about me or I don't matter at all.
Oh,
right? And somewhere in the middle, it's humility, which is I'm no greater than who I am. I'm no less than who I am. I simply am.
I just am.
I just am.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize just how powerful those two words are. Anything that follows I am will manifest in this physical world eventually. If I say I'm sleepy all the time, my sleep is going to follow. I'm going to start to behave as if I'm sleepy.
Because your mind doesn't know the difference. The thing is just getting data. It's a processor, and it's going to process the data. And the more you bring in the same kinds of data, the more it's going to put out what you're saying. So I get it now in my 30s when pastors have been yelling about, like, you know, what you put in, you put out. Like, okay, dude, go do me though, you know, or, you know, whatever anyone nomenclature thing that we've heard our whole life about our mind and the ability to manifest and all of that. Like, yeah, that's all important, man. Very, 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 very much so important.
It is. And I like how you said I get it in my 30s, right?
Yeah.
I got it in my teens. I thought.
Yeah.
I got it in my 20s. I thought. And now I'm thinking, do I really got it?
Maybe I don't got it. Maybe I don't got it. Maybe I'm just understanding the surface of it now. And now as I progress and get older and wisdom, you know, kind of sets in, in practical wisdom, because I'm actually doing something, not because I'm sitting in my house, just like, you know,
thinking and theorizing.
Yeah. Like practical, because man, I'll tell you that statement you made, there's so much like the I am, right? And you and I both come from the school of, you know, we grew up in church and we already know, like, when there's certain texts that were written, some of the ancient texts that were written, when they use the phrase the great I am, and even when Moses was like, who should I tell him sent me, like, I am. It's like, okay, so if we look at what you just said, like that, when we are no less worried about outside and we're not inflating the inside and we just are, oh, man, it's so real. Like, there's so much to that, but it doesn't mean it's easy to get there either, because you really have to be aware of the noise that's happening. And I think because it's not a normalized conversation, everyone's definition of noise is so different, you know? And I don't want to judge anybody's situation and let them know what matters and what doesn't matter, what's noise and what's not noise. I think the key here is I want to be able to help a person, like I've been teaching myself, to look at life and everything that's happening as just, it is what it is. It's not good or bad. It just is. Now let's navigate, right? Let's navigate. Don't try to judge that person. Don't try to judge the situation. That's a bad situation. Don't beat yourself up. Look at what it is, find the gift, or if there's an opportunity, because there are always going to be two things you can grab from it, a gift or an opportunity. Grab it, right? But you got to do the work to do that. It's not easy. I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes it's easier to just be like, I don't got it in me today. I'm just going to lay on the couch. I'm just going to do that for the next 8 hours.
Yeah.
You know,
it's easy to give up.
It really is.
Until you realize that there's this I don't know about anybody else. I just know for me. Every time I feel like giving up, there's this something inside of me that screams, what are you doing? There's so much more inside of you. And this is such a small piece of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like, it's in 5 years, will this even come up in the back of your mind and the forefront of your mind? Will it matter in the grand scheme of things? Then why are you letting it affect your entire destiny, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to my son the other day, and we can make plans. I'm planning to go to the gym, and I'm gonna do this and do
Right.
that. And then I get to the gym, and I get a FaceTime call from my son, and I'm like trying to be more present with my kids, uh, because sometimes it's hard being a parent when you can't
Yeah.
focus, and your kids are grown now, so you're like, oh,
Yeah.
they're good, right?
Yeah.
No, you still have to be there. You still have to be present.
Yeah.
And no, no, I don't have to. I get to. I still
I get
get to
to.
be present.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
He said something so profound. And I've been listening to my mom complain about them. And she has this way about her that, I mean, she came by it honest. So it's like, it's always gossip, negative, venting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just that generation. They call and
Yeah.
they vent to everybody before they talk to that person, if they ever talk to that person. And then nothing gets solved that way, right?
Right.
Well, I start hearing that, and this is why gossip kills, right? Because you rob someone of the opportunity to get to know the person you're gossiping about, and put this nasty thought their head about that person before they even get to make their own assessment of it, right?
That never goes away, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Unless you consciously have to try and work that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And be willing to. But
Yeah.
I'm listening to him, and without bias, without judgment, without all the stuff that my mom's put in my head. And I'm not talking bad about her. She's done the best with what she has, right?
Yeah. 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 That's mama. That's still mama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm listening, and I'm asking questions, but not asking questions based on the input that I got, but just saying, like, where are you? How are you?
Yeah.
What's going on? Right.
Right.
And telling them where I am, honestly, because we're at that point where we should, and you should always be talking with your kids like little adults, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to do what the school system does, where they set us up for failure, where they teach us all this stuff, and then we get out here and find out none of that matters, none of that's real. No, I'm going to be real with my kids the whole way through. So I'm telling them where I'm at. I feel like giving up, man. I just feel overwhelmed. I feel like, that everything I'm doing, all this work I'm putting in doesn't matter. I just feel like giving up. And he said, Dad, I want you to know that the only reason I keep going is because every time I look at your life and I think of giving up, and I see that you were my age with 2 kids and dealing with my mother, and I know how hard that can be. And you didn't give up, I can't give up. I see you where you're at now. And I think if I want to get to where he's at, I can't give up. I can't let this small stuff push me down. He's like, every time you think of giving up, just think of that one person that you've helped, that their life is not the same because your path crossed with them. And I'm like, dude, this is better than any workout I could have gotten this little hour, right? Like, my mind is on the treadmill. My heart's on the treadmill. My soul is lifting weights right now, having this conversation.
Yes, sir.
And I'm saying all this to say that sometimes that is what it is, will not coincide with your plans at all. As a matter of fact, it'll take your plans and crap on them, right?
Yeah.
F your plans.
Yeah.
We're planning with our finite resource, 10% of the mind we use, right? 10% of the brain that we use. And there's this beautiful design that if we just let it unfold and we take part in it, and we play whatever that chord is that is strummed in our soul when it's strummed, right?
Yeah.
Out loud. It makes the most beautiful musical masterpiece and the most beautiful tapestry all together when you just let it flow.
And it is good on a solo piece, but even more greater when you have the ensemble along with it. So that's why, that's a lot of people, and for anyone who hears this who doesn't know, like that, I spent quite a bit of time as a pastor, and so I may reference a lot of different things out the Bible, and I'm not ashamed of that. So, but I think there's a opening text in the book of Genesis. Once humanity is created, God says that it's not good that man should be alone. A lot of people only focus on that and look at it as just the marriage side of it. And I'm not saying that doesn't matter. I'm not talking about marriage right now. I'm just talking about the simple fact that when we get together and the strings of our souls start to harmonize, we out here looking like trolls and Trolls 2. You know,
I haven't seen that yet. I gotta see it.
With everybody in harmony, right? Because it's important. That's why we need we need each other. We need to be able to have everyone in harmony together that's around us. So yeah, anyway, I heard music and I was like, yeah, man, and the ensemble. So
well, when you say that the first thing there's two things that came to mind just now.
Yeah.
When you strum a chord on a guitar,
yep,
just one chord, or you hit just one piano key,
yep,
it's beautiful. It's
beautiful.
Good. But when you combine that and you make a chord and you play that in chords, it's those layers.
Yeah.
It's deeper. If one is good, many must be better, right? So now I'm over here strumming the G chord on the guitar, and that's 3 chords or 3 strings. And when you play those together, it's just like, wow, there's something deeper that you feel.
The idea that you then okay, so I said the ensemble, but let me actually kind of pick that apart a little bit. Sometimes you don't need the ensemble. Sometimes you just only need the 3 strings to make the chord the way that it needs, and that might be the only, you know what I'm saying? Like, so sometimes I don't want to get caught up in like, I need everybody and their mama, in our circle for us to be harmonious. No, man. Hey, for a while, it might just be me and my 5, and that's the chords on the guitar, the strings that we needed to play in harmony to make this thing go, and that's okay. That's okay. We didn't need the DJ. We didn't need the drum set. We got the 5 strings. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes it's okay as an acoustic.
Yeah.
Or acapella.
Yeah.
Like all these parts put together as a whole. Like we were talking about. I was in school to be a preacher, and everywhere I go and I talk, people are like, I feel like I just got out of sermon. My daughter, a couple months ago, was like, every time you open your mouth, it sounds like a TED Talk. I was like, yes, that's the point.
That's the goal.
Yes.
Hey, mama.
But you said something else about the opening text. It's not good for man to be alone, right?
Yeah.
And how people take the marriage part of it. But I think there's so many layers of that book, and any book really. And you know why? This is my theory on why the Bible and texts that are written in that format, with that, books that are written to help you to reflect on the spiritual level. And it's because they're written in principles and metaphors, right?
Yes.
There are principles contained at the core of everything, right?
Everything. Yeah.
The reason I don't have to really read a book is because I just need to understand the basic principles that they're teaching, and I know what that whole book's about.
Right.
I look at the title and I know that the principles embodied are honesty, courage, and acceptance. I can tell you what that book says. Yeah. I can tell you the stories that they're telling about those principles, right? The reason the Bible hits us different every time we read it, the reason the Bible is interpreted so many different ways is because everyone has a different experience with those principles.
Yeah. And at different levels in their life.
Right. It's the only book that you read that can read you.
Yeah.
Or that reads you. Yeah. So every time I've read the Bible and I've thought that I got this, I don't need to read it anymore. I'll read the same verse 2 years, 2 months, 2 days, 2 decades.
Yeah.
And every time I read it, it means something completely different in my life because I'm in a different place. I've learned things on a deeper level or in a different way, or I've experienced this principle in a different manner, or I've had my grade school experience with it versus my graduate school experience with it, right? And it all comes back to when two or more are gathered, there is a third mind, right? There's that collective consciousness that we were talking about earlier. There's something about community. That creates something that could never exist in solitude. And I forget that a lot because I'm the person that needs to be around people. Energizes me. But I also need that balance of let me have that time to soak.
Yes, exactly.
To really process what is happening, what's going on, and to plan for what's next, right? And I know myself, if I'm in motion and I stop, this is why I never took vacations.
Right,
it's so hard to get in motion again.
Oh my God. Yes.
But I gotta stay in motion or I gotta stay stopped. And neither one is good all the time.
Right.
So I gotta find that time to be in motion and that time to be at rest.
Well, and that's that balance that you were talking about with the pendulum.
God, it always comes back to balance.
Yeah.
But I've been harsh on myself lately because I'm not always in motion. And then when I'm not in motion and I'm resting too long. I'm beating myself up because nothing's happening. I'm not where I want to be. I stopped. I don't stop to think. You just doubled your income 4 times in 2 years.
In 2 years, bro.
And you went from waiting tables for 15 years to never having to walk into a restaurant unless you want to eat.
And not having to look on the left side of the menu. Can I get an amen? How much that cost? Nuh-uh, baby. You're going to have to get the macaroni tonight.
I wasn't going to say it, but it's imperative that we count our blessings because what we focus on grows. And if I'm focused on lack, if I'm focused on scarcity, if I'm focused on what I don't have or what I don't like, I've just experienced this and I always forget. I'm a quick forgetter, right? Easy learner, quick forgetter.
Yeah.
If I'm always grateful and I'm always focused on what I love and what I'm grateful for and what's going good and what we say, what's good?
Yeah.
If someone asks me what's wrong, right? They see something on my face.
That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy if we opened up conversations like, yo, what's wrong, dog? Like, huh? Do you know, like I would intentionally try to find something that's wrong to answer that question, even if there was not one.
Exactly. And like you were saying earlier, we do stuff repeatedly and it starts to kind of become a habit. Whether we want it to or not, right? Because our brain needs more processing power available to us so that we can survive the saber-toothed tiger and hunter-gatherer stuff that we're supposed to be doing, but we're not there and our brain doesn't know that anymore. So the cortisol's flowing, the stress, the fight or flight response, fight or freeze. There was somewhere I was going with this. So whether we want it to or not, our brain is regulating us and creating habits. And if we're not intentional and focused, conscious about these habits we're creating, what we're calling into the world, what we're focused on, we can find ourselves in a loop.
Yes. Now, mind you, here's the thing. We're gonna be in a loop. I think life is a series of it's just one big loop. And what I'm not saying this to be negative. It's just one big, if I'm for my music people out there, you know what we talking about. You've got that sample that you've got. It's the lead part of the song. It's on the loop. It's going. Song's 2 minutes and 50 seconds long. You're always going to hear that part. But as that song repeats, you should be hearing new stuff added in on top of what you put in there to begin with. And if you're not, then you're stuck in the loop we don't want to be stuck in. Your loop should be progressing. You know what I'm saying? Like fundamentally, okay. So I think some people, it's an overnight, they think life just changes for some people, right? You doubled your income four times. Is that what you said?
3 times in the last 2 years.
Three times in the last 2 years, right? So for the average Joe who might just meet you and maybe walk into your circumstance now and be like, yo, man, this place is magnificent. What do you do for a living? Oh my God, you've got the, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, nah, bro, let me tell you something. Since I was a teenager, I've been sitting in my mom's basement, sitting in my mom's garage making beats. Do you know what I'm doing in my 30s? I'm making beats. However, they have gotten more precise. I have become better at this craft. And so, yeah, when you saw me in 2007, I was doing that. But you see me now, you might think I'm just not doing anything, but now that's not the case, bro. The beat might sound just a little bit the same, but I'm adding layers as life kind of get, so yeah, anyway.
No, I was the reason you saw the stank face over here is because
yeah.
How did we just bring this all the way back around from where we went out to come back to the whole premise of what we're talking about, the loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said feedback loop, and I thought when I was at Container Store,
yeah,
it was my first UX job.
By the way, what a stunt button moment. Let me hit the ow. You know what I'm saying? My boy has just been like killing it from the service industry to working at places like Container Store. What? Yeah. Go ahead.
Ow, Marriott.
Come on, man.
Adobe,
come on, bro.
God is good.
Yes, sir.
I've been blessed to be able to contribute to these companies. When I was at Container Store, that was when I realized that life is one giant feedback loop, right? What I put out, I get more of. What seeds I sow eventually grow, and I start to. So let me explain it like this. I'm learning about UX in my professional life, and I apply it in my professional life, and then there comes this clarity in my personal and family and relational and musical. It all helps. Like it's all transferable skills.
It's all
So we're taught, put this on the resume that relates to this job, and when you interview, only talk about this. And then when you see the job description, you think, I don't have the qualification. I shouldn't even apply. Think about that with life, right? Yeah. I'm not here. I don't look like them. I don't have what they have. So therefore I can't be, right?
Yeah.
But we forget, right? I don't know how, like James told me to write a badass list all the times where I was killing it in my life. And I thought, man, there was a time where I wrote 16 albums in 4 years. Wrote, recorded, produced, engineered, mastered, mixed. Only thing was, I was using some of other people's beats. Like there was some in there where I'd make my own.
Yeah.
For the most part, I'm just on SoundClick.
Yeah. Wow. By the way, kids, SoundClick.
Before SoundCloud, before the cloud was the thing, we had to click.
Yeah.
Right?
Before YouTube was even a place you were putting music. It was SoundClick, man.
It was all SoundClick.
Yeah.
I would grab beats from there, be like, free beat, download. I didn't think about attribution or having to pay for the beat or licensing. I didn't know anything about that. I just knew there was a beat and there was no tag on it. And so I could rap on it.
Right.
I had put together 16 albums in 4 years. I was at my pinnacle where a conversation like this would turn into a song. A conversation with a complete stranger turned into a beautiful song. Everything in my life was song. I could rhyme at any point in time. Unintentional right there. Yeah. But I forgot. I just threw that away because I didn't feel like it had any say in the world I'm in now. And then as I start to get to know designers and I find out we're all musicians, we all have ADHD, or we're all on the spectrum in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
And the reason we're in these jobs is because we're natural problem solvers. We find what's wrong and it doesn't sit well with us to just let it be wrong.
Right.
Why are we doing this way? Why are we not doing this way?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Question everything, right? When I looked at just how much I had done and I started to realize, going back to the feedback loop, right? I'm making the circle. I am. When I realized how design was helping my personal life and my musical life, and I started to feel better because now I can put together a beat and have it structured and not have this random sound come from out of nowhere because my ADHD took me on another side quest.
You're right.
I'd actually put something together that was beautiful and didn't sound crazy.
Yeah.
And I can attribute that to learning about how design is structured and how form follows function, and like all these things, these principles I'm learning in UX.
Yeah.
And I felt better about myself. I felt more confident there. And now imposter syndrome starting to melt away in my career, because
you talk a lot about imposter syndrome. I bring that up because I love a lot of the content that you post around it, and I'm not sure until I met you and James, not heard it framed that way. Definitely, but sorry, I took.
No, you're good.
But your imposter syndrome has died down, and so what did you do? Are there things that you started doing? I mean, with the understanding, I'm not trying to get some kind of cookie cutter recipe out of you.
No, it probably isn't a cookie cutter, right?
Yeah.
It's cookie cutter, but it will work. There is a cookie cutter to this imposter syndrome. It goes in different doughs.
Yeah.
So you can use it for yeast, you can use it for cookie dough, you can use it for Play-Doh.
Yeah.
It works if you work it.
Right. Sucks if you don't.
Work it because you worked it.
Yeah.
Understanding that I'm needing something for reference. So just imagine there's two circles, right?
Yeah.
Here's where I am, and here's where I think other people are. Here's what I know, and here's what I think other people
know. Yeah.
And the reality is, here's where I am, here's where they are. Here's what I know about all this stuff. Here's what all they know about stuff I don't. And when we put it together.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why, in the end, that unity we talked about earlier, right? When we gather together and there's more heads together, there's more, like you were talking about, you're in the garage with the homies, you're making a beat, and they say something that you would have never thought of.
Yeah.
But if you let imposter syndrome win, you never mix and mingle. You never put yourself in a position where there could be other people that could be smarter than you, right?
That could be smarter than you. Because
God forbid. Yeah, God forbid someone else knows more than you and they shine more than you. I used to be that person that was the loudest in the room, and I had to be the loudest in the room, and I had to be the one getting all the attention. Now, if there's another extrovert in the room, I am cool with.
Cool. Hey, listen, hold up. Let's talk about that for a second. If there's not just another extrovert, but I was the same way when it came to Black people in the room. I really was, bro. I'm my life kind of like, South side of Chicago, Black people moving west, less Black people moving more west. Probably for every 10 to 15, white people you see is one Black person. So when I say that, that's because quite a lot in my life, I'd be at maybe like the party, the homie be throwing a kegger in the cornfields. I'm using words that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you went to a kegger in the cornfield, But I used to feel like, oh my God, bro. Even when Black people would come around, I'd be like, oh, there can't be more than one at this party. I gotta be the only extroverted Black guy in the room.
And I totally get that, because from Tulsa, Oklahoma, where there's a lot of Black people, to New York, where there's still a lot of us. There's some Puerto Ricans. There's lots of diversity.
Yeah,
still a lot of Black people. Then you go to France, and I am Lee Hogan.
Yeah.
The only Black man that wasn't from Africa, right? Or from some place in Africa. And I didn't realize I was a Black man until I moved over here to the US, right? Because over there, we didn't need to know what color your skin was or where you were from for any other reason besides what language do we need.
Yeah.
Okay. You over here working on a beat?
My bad. I hit the space bar. It played my Apple Music.
Ah.
But that is a beat that I was working on. Sorry.
All right, we're gonna have to get together in the studio and make some beats together now, because
Yes, sir.
I'm over here as you're talking about it, right? Because our brains are able to focus on two things at once.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah.
I'm over here thinking, man, if we were in the studio and we came up with a beat, it would be beyond, like, out of this world, because both of our skills separate are ill. But to put that together,
yeah. I got to get out of my zone with all of that stuff. But that's what I'm working on this year. Plus, let me be completely honest. You know, I didn't come from money, so a lot of the stuff that I got to be able to make beats, I got to pay for. So, you know, I shout out to McLaurin. I'm gonna hit y'all up so I can pay for the full version of Fruity Loops. But I did want to play. I'm gonna play a track that I made. But I didn't want to cut you off, so that was completely unplanned. Hitting that, my bad.
No, you're good. I can't wait to hear it. So, on the topic of allowing others to shine, and
yeah,
I've always been the token. Like, I'm always the only Black person in my surroundings. And the sad reality of us here in the US is, if you're educated, they call it white, right? So don't talk white. Why you act white?
Why you act white? Why you talk that way?
So I'm definitely not white enough to fit in with the white people.
Right.
But I'm also not Black enough to fit in with my people. So I become this entity on my own.
Yep.
And I create a community of people that don't mind color or ethnicity. And I love that. I hate when it's about that.
Yeah.
And I hate that a part of me has become that, like, a part of me starts to focus on that because that's so ingrained in me to think Black, white.
Yeah.
I don't like making that the issue at all in any situation, because I know it's so much deeper than that. It's so much more than that. Like,
it is really deep. You know, one of my friends, so we've, thank God for neighbors and just random relationships, you know, and you know, like, God is like serendipity happens so much, you know. So we met a family near us, love these people to death. They've just become a part of the family, you know what I mean? And it was sorry, remind me what we were just talking about, because I got all caught up on them.
We were talking about allowing others to be who they are, not having to be the main people in the room.
No, forget about it. I lost it that quick.
Shoot,
it's gonna come to me when we hang up too. That's exactly what's gonna happen.
So we were talking about
it's okay.
Being the token.
Thank you. That's what it was about. So, you know, this year, again, just a super hard year in my life, you know, with everything that, I mean, let me just be completely honest. You know, I was 16 years ago is when I met the mother of my children. 16 years ago, bro. And so for us to be ending things the way that we are, I mean, it's just hard for me. It's hard for the kids. So one night I wasn't planning to do anything for my birthday this past year. You know, I'm focused on the kids, you know, their birthdays are coming up. We got other holidays, all that stuff. So they gave me like the surprise birthday party, right? Came over, you know, and there was a cake and like, really wasn't expecting it. But then they took me to this, they wanted to take me out with them. And let's not even get caught up in all the whole, like, just the feeling guilty because I'm like, but my kids, you know what I'm saying? But it was a country two-step bar. Okay. I love country music. There's not a type of music I can't love. It's just in my DNA. But when they said a country western two-step bar, I was like, whoa. Hold up. Is anyone else gonna be there? It looks like, and when I first said it, they laughed. They thought, and I was like, I'm actually being serious. Like, and I'm not trying to be the guy that like tries to make it about that. I was like, don't want to be the only guy, and I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to come in there wearing some, I don't know, FUBU, and everybody's wearing, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want it to be weird. I do want to have fun. And plus, what is a two-step? I know what a two-step is, right? Like, if I play two-step right now and started dancing, I'm quite sure it's different from what y'all calling the two-step. So you don't have to prepare me for this. I'm not trying to go in there. You know what I'm saying? I want to be a part of the crowd when I get there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too black for this situation. So go ahead and give me the rundown. But we went, bro. We went. I loved it. I wasn't the only black guy there, which was very surprising because if you think about country music in and of itself, just black representation is just not there. Yeah. But it was one of the best experiences that I've ever had in my life. And I hated that I took it that route, but that's just some pre-programming and stuff that we've dealt with since we've been born in this country.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree 100%. Like, I enjoy those experiences where I'm about to walk. Actually, the last thing I think about is, am I going to be the only one? Right. Cause I'm so used to it. So
yeah.
It actually surprises me when I'm not the only one. And like, you know, let's say I take my wife with me. Now she's the only white person in the room. But that doesn't make her uncomfortable at all. She grew up in Terrell, right?
Right.
So she's used to that. I'm actually the one that's more uncomfortable than her in those situations.
Yeah.
Which is so weird, but
yeah.
I fit in wherever I'm at because I understand at the core, not to say that I am better than I understand.
Or that you've ascended and you've gotten it all.
No, I just understand that it's so much deeper than all this stuff that our society and our news throw at us, right? To incite the fear, to fuel the division. It's deeper than black, white, political party, who you belong to, who you work for, what you believe in. At the core of it all, we have these principles that are at the core of everything.
Yeah.
And when you boil everything down and you take it away, there are principles.
Yeah.
And if you just practice principles in all your affairs, you can have the life of your dreams.
Yeah.
On that note, I wanted to, I don't know.
By the way, we need Michael on here because that boy is one story that, like, I think people be like, what? Because the last time we saw that dude,
he was a security guard.
He was a security guard struggling to make ends meet. And
I remember.
Then he disappeared. And when I ran into this guy in the most unlikeliest of places, I was like, what happened? Wait a minute.
I wish he would have been here. I kind of knew he wouldn't because he's been busy, but
yeah. We're gonna get you on, bro.
We're gonna have to do it again and get him on because okay. So you remember our Bible study group?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
That was,
so we had a Bible study group at the place where we all met at. And the person we're referring to that's not here, he was a part of that group. And there's several more individuals that were part of that Bible study at work.
And we were all over the company, like all different levels, all different, like one guy's driving people around in the C-suite.
Yep.
We were over there on one side of the company, handling one part of it. I'm handling the other. I used to be the barista.
Yeah.
Michael's the security guard. And we have a couple more. Glenn is in sales.
Yeah. So sales people. I mean, we
had representation from every side of the company, but it was an all black study group.
It was an all black young professionals.
And I'd never been a part of anything like that, right?
Yeah.
It's always been, I've been the only black guy. I've never been the type to assemble. Well, because here's my thing about that. Am I perpetuating the problem if I make a black only group, right? Because if we put a different label on that and we called it whites only, what would that look like?
All right.
So am I perpetuating the problem by creating something that's similar or the black version of what I don't like when happens to us, right?
Yeah.
So it's always been about inclusion, and it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, creed, religion, sexuality, lack of religion. We are all human. We're all we all experience this thing in the same way. We all have the same feelings. We all have to excrement whatever comes in the same way.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's exempt from having to sit on the toilet, right?
Yeah.
And that's what,
except for women. No, I'm kidding.
They don't do that.
Yeah, not at all.
But so I wanted to say this because in my podcast, and I don't know how we're gonna frame this or label it, and really doesn't matter at this time. At this point this year, I'm just throwing it out there, right? I actually want to start making these live, so this might be my last pre-recorded. But what is one question you think everybody should be asking themselves?
What is one question I think everyone should be asking themselves? This is wholeheartedly, this is what I teach my kids. You talked about how design for you, when you started getting into that space, it also like translate beyond the job. Same thing with me in Agile. Like becoming an Agile certified practitioner was not just for a resume, check off the resume. I really fell in love with Agile, and it harmonizes into everything else in my life. And so with that being said, I have been trying to crack the right language to make Agile a lifestyle, not just a way of getting code out to people or software development. So a lot of the things that I think we should always be asking ourselves, King David wrote a lot, and it's documented in a lot of the historical books that are represented in the Bible, where he would question everything, right? And it wasn't that questioning everything was bad. Some of us come up from schools of thoughts where it's like, you don't need to question what God doing, you just need to go on ahead with it. Nah, homie, no, that's not the case, because I'm questioning what my mom do, and if something don't feel right, I'm gonna say something about it. I don't but what I have learned fundamentally over this whole process, the last 2 to 3 years, and really delving into a lot of the positive psychology, neuroscience, and things about how our brain's working, and what I've come to conclusion with, I'm not sure if that's the right way to say it, but every question, or the question that everyone could ask whenever they're encountering something, it isn't up to us to judge the situation. That's why I love those t-shirts that says only God can judge. Apply that to every situation, though. Don't judge the situation. Don't look at it for the good or the bad. Just don't do it. But ask yourself every time something happens, is there a gift or an opportunity that I can take from this moment? And when you do that, it doesn't mean it's easy, because let me tell you, I've been so emotionally hijacked sometimes, man, that, whether that's just responding to my kids the wrong way, not being very present at work, whatever you can think of, this is something that I'm constantly working on. But I'm always asking myself, all right, the outcome is what it is, but where's the opportunity and gift? I'm not doing that to sound fluffy or anything like that, but there is something key to that, because, and you said it earlier when you were talking about the scarcity mindset, right? And that fear and the worry. Well, our brain we have two very different sides of our brains. The left side, that, where the limbic system is where a lot of our survival mentality comes from. We need that side of our brain, because me and you need to know if somebody's about to pull up on us and do something, right? Or that our children are in harm, or, whatever the case might be. But we don't need to be in survival mode all the time.
Right.
And so what using that question does is it triggers my mind to stop for a second, to see if I'm responding from that survival mode, that scarcity. I've got to do this. Oh, we're going to die if this doesn't happen, versus, oh, the gift here is, right, let me think. Like my son. Okay, yeah, right. That was it. So my son busted his lip. The lip got infected. It was like gross, bro.
Yeah.
So I had to keep him home for like 5 days straight, and he couldn't practice on his trumpet. He was missing school. Most people would be like, "Damn, that's a horrible situation. Like it's just neck." But the gift was he was able to be around me for about 5 days straight while I'm working. And there was some moments where had he not been here, it would have been hard for me to handle some of the things inside of the house, right? And so I looked at that, I discerned it, didn't judge it, I discerned it, because when you discern it, you remove all that personal stuff. There's the ancient writers, you know, this one of this king, the two ladies are fighting over a baby, they bring it to the king, and the king's trying to figure out who's the right parent, like who the actual parent of the kid is. So then he says, let's just saw the kid in half. And and the real mom responded, no, the other girl can have him, right? And he knew because of her response that was the mom, because of the way she responded. The way the king acted in that moment was a clear showing of discernment. You know, like objectively looking at the situation. So, man, if you use that question, I mean, that's a little like, take that, use it, right? What's the gift or the opportunity? And for me, I use that as I'm a surfer. Life is just waves that are coming at me. I have to be mindful of the swelling so that I can put myself in position to surf the wave as opposed to being drowned by that wave. So I'm always looking for the gift or opportunity. Yeah. That's the question.
I love that, because I've asked this question to so many people, and I'm curious to know what questions other people think they should be asking, or that they ask themselves, or they think other people should be asking. But as I asked you that, I'm like, what is my question? Because I question everything. I ask so many questions that I can't pinpoint one question. But if I had to say, like, what is my question that I think everyone should be asking themselves, is just like you, like, what, well, not just like you. I asked that similar question because I have to look at everything as what am I getting from this situation, good or bad, right?
Yeah.
Because it's that judging, that judging versus discerning. If I call this a bad situation, then I rob the opportunity of finding something to grow from in it. But if it is what it is, and it just is something, now I have the opportunity to find how it's helped me, even though it's harmed me. So my question is, what am I grateful for in this moment? At any moment that could happen, any moment. After my speech in November, I gave a 50-minute education session. Supposed to leave 10 minutes for Q&A. It was how success starts with gratitude. Something about gratitude programs our mind to look for more things to be grateful for. And when we find more things to be grateful for, we perpetuate this good in the world. And for the Q&A, I was like, I feel like I've broken this down to where there shouldn't be any questions right now, right? So I'm just going to pass the mic around, and I want y'all to tell me one thing you're grateful for. What's one thing you're grateful for? Like, that's my question. What are you grateful for? Because if at any point in time we're focused on what we don't want, what we don't like, what we wish wasn't there, like you said, it's a program that runs on what we give it, and it can't return something back that will make us feel like we're losing our mind. So if I say I don't want to do something, or I can't find something, our brain is going to find a way to validate that statement, whatever that statement is. Because if I was to say, I can't find my cup, and then my cup is right here in front of me, now I feel like I'm losing my mind, because what I said isn't coming true. What I said isn't valid. So I passed the mic around, and by the fifth person, we're all in tears, because this lady has said, I'm grateful for people like you who would place a child for adoption, because it's people like you who make families like mine possible. And I was like, dang, and I wasn't even going to share that story.
Right.
And by the time we got to the very end, there was like 30 people in the room. By the time we got to the very end, there were people that had never cried before or don't cry in public or just don't cry that are crying. And I remember the meetings, gratitude.
Yeah.
How it works every time, right? Because I don't know if you've noticed, like there's this movie on Netflix, Don't Look Up. You seen
Don't Look It Up, or that's what it's called?
It's called Don't Look Up. It's kind of a parody. It's a comedy about our political system right now and like how things are with social media and like basically how it would be if a comet was coming for the Earth and it was like, you know, you had 6 months left to live, what would happen? And
definitely Don't Look It Up. Don't Look Up.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
But the thing that blew my mind is towards the end of the movie, that's when people want to be grateful. Like when it's
too late,
hours, that's when you want to be grateful.
Yeah.
But if you led with that, right? It's like Tony Robbins says, if you do what you did in the beginning of a relationship, there won't be an end. What are you grateful for? Because gratitude is the key to the door that unlocks so much more than we could have ever asked for.
Yeah.
And when I think of, like, I feel like I should be the gratitude guy. Like I should be coined Grateful Greg.
Great. Yeah. Grateful Greg. Hey.
It's like the Grateful Dead.
Grateful Greg. Yeah.
Because it just really, that's the only thing that keeps me going sometimes is how can I find opportunity? How can I find beauty in the mess? How can I find beauty in the madness? Like the Weeknd's album, the beauty behind the madness. Like there is always an opportunity.
Yeah.
There's always something that like it could work both ways though. Like I could find what is it that I hate about this situation and I'll find it.
Yeah.
And I'll find more of it. And before you know it, I hate my life. I hate everything about it. I hate everyone in it. But if I'm looking for what I'm grateful for and what I focus on grows, it just, I don't know.
You can be grateful in pain. You really can. Yeah, you really can. And so when I say like you find I think that's where, you know, if we want to break it down to, you know, good and bad, you know, the opportunity is when it's painful, you find an opportunity. Oh, this was a growing moment for me. Oh, I know not to let that person back in my life. Right.
Yeah.
Versus the gift that shows, yo, I learned so much in that. You know what I'm saying? Like you let that be, and then you take care of you. And then that ego gets in check. And then you're not too inflated on yourself or too outside of yourself. You just are, and you're seeing it and you see the path. And then what could have been your destruction ends up leading you somewhere. I mean, think about how you got into design. You kind of got pushed there, right? Like it wasn't handed to us. And so, I love how you tied that in, because here's the thing. Not everybody has the wiring to be able to just look at something that's happening and stop for a second and say, okay, is there a gift or opportunity? So how you get there? Ask that first question, the question you said, what am I grateful for? Because when you start doing that, and this is why it's a fundamental principle of the 12 steps, your gratitude lists.
My gratitude speaks when I care and I share with another human in a loving manner.
Yeah.
My gratitude speaks service.
Yeah.
When I'm grateful, I'm moved to action.
Yeah, you are. And people feel that too. You know, the studies show that as you increase your, I'll use the term positive intelligence, right? As you increase that on yourself, your neighbors are affected by that, which is.
You are so right, because it's been a process to tame my ego here, but I know that a lot of the people that I hang around are starting to do things they've never done before. And ways that, and then when I find out, like I assume that maybe something I'm doing is helping, but I don't want to think that it's just me. And then they'll come to me and say, man, something you said 2 weeks ago changed my life.
Yeah.
Something you said I've been thinking about, and so my niece called me the other day and she said, I was going to call you right after this, or she said, I did call you right after this, but it took you a week to get back to me.
Right.
She said, I was talking to your mom and she was complaining. And then she stopped herself, which never happens. And she said, but Greg told me to think like this. And she said, what? How the hell did he do that? And I'm like, I don't know. You live that example. You live the example of what happens on the other side of what I'm telling you to do, right?
Yeah.
I do it myself, and I show you where I was, what happened, and what it's like now. I share my strength, experience, and hope.
Yeah.
And it inspires.
Yeah.
I forget that works.
Yeah.
I forget that that's actually a thing.
Yeah.
And why am I such a quick learner and an even faster forgetter?
Yeah.
But the ripple effect is real, man.
It is real.
When you lead by example, when you face a fearful situation, and you make it look so easy, you inspire the people around you, right? I don't think I would have started my podcast had I not seen other people that looked like me, that thought like me, that had been where I've been starting podcasts. I think you were one of the inspirations. There's a couple other people that I know that have YouTube channels, and I'm like, man, if they can do it, I can do it.
They can, man.
And I mean, like my old life coach, we're no longer talking now because of differences, but she taught me so much. And I just started to put into practice what she was teaching me, and noticed that basically life coaching is like sponsorship without the alcohol. Without the abstinence from a drug or alcohol. But I'm inspired by the people around me that do the things that I think are impossible.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna download that.
Yeah, you can keep it, bro. Do whatever you want with it. Just you can't
rap to it, and I'm gonna give it back to you by the end of the month.
You can't monetize on it. FYI, no licenses were cleared for the production of that one. But yeah, man.
That's one thing I wanted to talk to you about off the record.
We'll talk. I mean, I've the only thing that I don't have licensing for is just when I create a beat on my own. But everything else that I release, like the content videos, the background music, and all those licenses are cleared. And I actually have, I've sent you some. There's some beats that I can give you, bro. I'll give you the license along with it. You can do whatever you want with it. You can monetize on it, whatever. I'm gonna play it on. I'm gonna share my audio and play it through my setup. We'll let the beat take us out. How about that?
Hey, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Yeah. So I don't want to keep going back around the same circles and being repetitive, but all of this, man. I think to your point, like seeing other people that, I mean, if it wasn't on a podcast, it's like in the business space, the company we came from was so big. I used to feel so uncomfortable sometimes. Like I didn't feel like I was adequately enough prepared, didn't have the business acumen to be able to have some conversations with some of these VPs that look nothing like me. You know what I mean? And so then you start getting all this other programming from growing up, like, oh, shoot, let me make sure I say sir in here instead of yo, what up? It's Corey. You know what I mean? All of that is just I think it's just a part of as we keep growing and becoming more mindful of that, and then teaching other people what's happening, helping them get out of themselves, take that objective view at themselves or the situation, and really sharing that. Man, I had that point, dude. It just went away. That's that ADHD mind, man. I'm telling you. Just cut this one.
You were talking about gratitude, and that whether it be through business, through wherever it comes from.
Yeah. So I don't even know where I was going with that. It's okay. It's gone. That one was gone. That one was gone. And you know what that means? That means I was thinking a little bit too much while you were talking. So I probably missed some of the key points you said. I mean, that's a conversation in and of itself.
Yeah, listening to respond versus listening.
Yeah, like listening, like straight up listening,
not
having anything prepared to talk about next. Like that, I got to do that sometimes because I'll get lost in the sauce.
And that's what this podcast is teaching me. How to actively listen, along with Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a huge proponent in my success.
Oh,
right now.
Here it is. You talked about like people looking like you and then having that motivation because if they could do it, I can do it. That all matters, making it visible. That's why we shouldn't hide what we work on. And that's kind of been like, that's a key agile component that I didn't realize I still wasn't practicing quite well. So now I just let everything, like it's all out in the open. I even have written on the board, nothing to hide from anyone and ourselves. Right. So it's just, I don't hide any of that. But one of the things that tripped me out, bro, was like when I went to do the podcast the first time, this whole thing, man, when I went to shout out to my co-host, Devin, to him, I met Devin. He was my teacher for the Orange Frog workshop that I went to.
Oh yeah.
So to shoot him a text and A, for him to respond, and then B, to be like, yo, I'm down to record. Let's make a podcast and let's really do that. Like, that was another thing for me because I'm watching his talks and where he's traveling to. And I'm like, yo, if he can do it, right? Like, let me see if, you know what? I might need a little help with this. Let me see if he'll be along for the ride. And he was like, yeah, I'm down. It's like, oh shoot, I can do this.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and just put my feet out there and just try.
Yep. And that's the part that is the hardest, is just getting started. Just reaching out, making that first connection.
Yeah.
Because we inherently believe at some point we cry for failure. We think that we can't, we shouldn't. We're not enough. And we are. Yeah. So I got a appointment with my trainer in 20 minutes. I'm starting this 60-day crush.
Okay.
For the new year, but I do want you to play this to get us out, and then I do want to talk for just a second off the record.
All right.
I thank you for having me on your show and you being on mine. Us podcast hosts collaborating here. It's been beautiful, and I feel like this is just the first of many. Yeah.
Let's keep doing these, man. Even if we don't even put them out there, it's therapeutic.
Really is.
Hey, throw me the rights to share my audio or share my screen. Might just have to elevate me to like co-host or something.
All right, I think it should be ready.
Yep, that's it. All right, y'all. Exclusive. We'll catch you guys next time on this. We don't know what it is, but it is what it is. So I made this one the other night. A lot of the hardships that we went through as a family this year kind of came to a conclusion. And so I've been getting back into myself, getting back into my mode. And so this beat kind of came out of that. This was one of 5 beats that I made in one night, just sitting, that all kind of like, it's like a movie, just displaying different emotions, right? This was a little bit more chill. Here y'all go.
Ooh.
We'll catch y'all again, man.
Corey Mack, young Kanye West over here. Yes.
Yes, sir. Oh man, this was fun, Greg. Really was. I know last time we tried to meet up with Devin too. So yeah, next time we get together, we might just like bring both of them in. I think it will be a heavy hitting boy.
Well, the last time I didn't show up because burnout.
Yeah.
Said it was perfect with you and Devin. This time, Mike didn't show up, but it still was necessary. It still was therapeutic.
Yeah.
By the time we finally get us all together, we're gonna be in that place.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'm gonna stop the recording right now. I hope everyone has a marvelous whatever the day this is that we post this, and look forward to more in this year because we are about to take it to the next level.
Yes, sir.